All right, good morning, everybody. All good sessions begin on time. It is 11:30, so thank you very much for coming to the session about how to grow on YouTube in 2026, lessons I've learned from uploading 2,200 plus videos to YouTube. I put this talk together because I came to TravelCon last year in Tucson, and a lot of people who were on Instagram or TikTok and Facebook were asking me a lot of questions about, Chris, but tell me about YouTube. And even if you were here in Dalton's presentation before, he has like 800,000 followers on Instagram and like 16,000 on YouTube, something like that. Anyway, Dalton, this is for you. Now, for everybody else, there's definitely, I know we've got some YouTube experts in the room. For all of you, I always enjoy kind of like understanding what goes on in other YouTube's minds, kind of like behind the scenes about how they think about it. And so that's kind of what this presentation is. As we start what's ahead in this talk, I'll be sharing with you a little bit about what makes YouTube different from the other social platforms out there, how to find interesting topics that work well on YouTube, some of the popular travel niches that I see. Is it niches or niche? Niche? It's the riches are in the niches, and so that's why I think about it, so I can make that rhyme. All right, great. We'll talk about creating videos that people actually watch on YouTube, and then we'll talk about building community. So that's what's ahead on our trail. Let me tell you a little bit about me first, for those of us that have never met. So my name is Chris Raney. Sounds like a rainy day. There's no I and you add an E. That's how you get to Raney. I am born and raised in San Diego, California. The travel bug bit me in 2004 with my first trip to Japan. My girlfriend at the time, now wife, that's when we took our first international trip together. Absolutely loved it. My background in video comes from growing up as a youngin'. I would run second camera with my dad in weddings. So I was the guy sitting in the back. Chris just changed the tapes and the battery when they burn out. But so when I went to Japan, my dad had a bunch of cameras. I took one with me. I was making travel videos before YouTube, when I would just put up MPEGs on my website, share them with friends and family. And then when YouTube came around, I'm like, oh, there's a free video hosting site where I don't have to pay for my bandwidth. That's amazing. Let's see, a couple interesting things about me. I've been on Japanese national television 3 times, one time playing Dance Dance Revolution. So if anybody would like to challenge me to a dance-off later, I don't know if there's any in Salt Lake City, but I'm game. That's my wife. She goes by OC Girl. She's generally behind the camera. And then my daughter, the Curious Princess. Okay. So a little bit more about the channel. I started Yellow Productions on YouTube in 2008, primarily as a place to share videos with families and friends. Eventually people started watching those videos. At this point it's had over 100 million total views, mostly long form views. Over 2,200 videos uploaded, 425,000 subscribers on YouTube. I like to look at YouTube channels, and we're going to be looking at a few as we go through here by sorting by popular and looking what those top popular videos are. So these are the most popular videos on my channel, which whenever people ask me, Chris, what do you do on your channel? I always say things like, well, hey, if you want to know what the 5 worst cheap hotels on the Las Vegas Strip are, or how to ride the subway in Tokyo, those are some of the things you'll find on Yellow Productions. So my Vegas series, I know these numbers are really tiny, so I'm going to come over here and tell you what they are. 5 worst cheap hotels on the Las Vegas Strip. I would argue this was my most viral video at the beginning, because it's in the first year. 8 years ago, 3.3 million views. And this is one where people always say, Chris, I didn't stay in any of the hotels. I'd stayed in them before, but I didn't record footage in the hotels. And people are like, well, Chris, why didn't you stay in the hotels and do this? I'm like, I had no idea it would do that well. Like, if I did, I would have put more effort into it, right? But I feel like this is a little bit of the game, that like anybody who tells you they can predict what videos are going to do well and which ones won't, like we all put the energy into one to be like, this one's going to be the masterpiece. And the one we spent 10 minutes on is the one that like, oh, that's the one, that one, okay. But you'll see later down here, there's some other things that are not Vegas. And then if we go to the second page, there's a lot of things that aren't Vegas. So generally, world travel, my most popular videos are of the general travel guide flavor. So travel tips, travel guide, ultimate travel guide, Vancouver, San Francisco. And so those are ones that I know in general, if I put good effort into those, they tend to do well, but I can't always predict that. Okay. When did I realize I was a YouTuber? And so this is also an interesting one about, Chris, are you a content creator or whatever? I definitely say I'm a YouTuber. And my wife and I, we were invited to South Korea's first YouTuber week. And I guess I should have known that when we were invited, that maybe I'm a YouTuber at that point. But it was this particular moment that we were filming out in the streets in Busan at the beach. and one of the kids recognized me, an elementary school kid that was walking by. And then he told all of his friends that that's a YouTuber right there. I was then mobbed by the whole class. All right. So now I want to talk a little bit about what makes YouTube different from the other platforms. The first thing that makes YouTube different from the other platforms is it is the internet and world's second largest search engine. Google is first, YouTube is second. People go to YouTube to search for things. People don't generally go to Instagram to search for things. People generally don't go to TikTok to search for things. And you might be sitting here and be like, well, Chris, people do search on TikTok. Not as much as they do on YouTube. And it's interesting, as I've talked to a lot of people about their journey, I have a friend of mine, and she says she consumes, because I do, you do shorts, reels, whatever. I post reels on Instagram and long form on YouTube. And she says she consumes all, like, in the mindless scroll, that's Instagram. But when she wants to know how to do something, when she has a specific question, then that's when she goes to YouTube. That's the only time she watches YouTube, when she has a specific question, but there are a fair bit of people that are in that category. So YouTube is more than infinite scroll. It is a click to watch platform, or tap to watch, or select to watch, right? Like the other platforms, they just kind of like feed things to you or to people, and people decide not to watch it, basically. But on YouTube, they have to decide to click in to actually watch the thing. And this is one of the things that I find is most interesting, at least from my travel content, is the shift to the living room. So the latest statistic is that YouTube has eclipsed Netflix in connected television streaming. The watch time across my channel, 60% of it comes from televisions, people watching on TV. YouTube just changed their thumbnails. They used to be, they had to be 1080, 2 megabytes. Now they can be 4K and 50 megabytes. So if you, for those of you who are YouTube here, if you haven't started uploading 4K thumbnails, do so, because they look better on televisions, right? And now they can be, if you were downscaling them, right, don't anymore. Like, make them big, make them glorious, so people can find those on TV. And I would say, particularly in the travel space, make the experience that people can kick back, relax, watch with their family, maybe watch once on their phone because they found it, but then come get together with the family and be like, hey, we're planning a trip to London. Let's all get together and watch this London video. One of the other moments in my journey of like when I knew I was a YouTuber, back on being recognized by elementary school kids, 3 weeks ago, I was recognized by a 6-year-old girl. She goes, I've watched your YouTube videos. My mom and I were going to Tokyo Disney, and I saw your video on Tokyo Disney, right? But that's that family viewing experience. Okay. The other two things over here, YouTube is also, in my opinion, the best monetization program across all the different platforms. And videos can be evergreen. What do I mean when I say evergreen? And I know you can't read this because it's super small, but this is a screenshot of the analytics from my channel about 3 weeks ago when I made these slides. So this is the real-time top 20 videos in the last 48 hours. And on this list of top 20 videos in the last 48 hours, 6 of those videos are older than 3 years old. On every other platform, if you want that thing to still get views, you need to like keep reposting it or keep resharing it, like they die off very quickly. But on YouTube, you can make good content that can perform for a very, very long time. And so there's one of these in particular that I want to dive into. I want to dive into this Sydney video down here. So this Sydney video, and I also know these numbers are small, so I'll call out what's in the different boxes. This Sydney video I posted 1,368 days ago. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the YouTube analytics, this is the views over time. And so this just kind of has a consistent rise. It has 728,000 total views. That's not 728,000 3 days, but it's 728,000 over 1,300 days. What's also interesting is YouTube will tell you the number of unique viewers. So of those 728,000, 500,000 are unique viewers, which means about 200,000 have come back to watch that video a second time because it was so valuable. They watched it once, they're planning their trip later, they came back to watch that video again. The other thing I want to call out for you is this statistic down here where YouTube shows how viewers find your video. And there's suggested, browse, and then down here is YouTube search. So in this case for me, 21% of the viewers that decide to watch this video found it via YouTube search. They typed in something in the YouTube search and then clicked on it that way. We're going to talk through all those other numbers, but what I will tell you for me, and this is, again, thinking about, people think about things different ways, but the way I think about videos on YouTube is absolutely creating videos that people would search for, that they're interested in watching, and then provide them some utility about it, as opposed to chasing the viral shock, making something that people like, right, it's the clickbait, it's the Mr. Beast. I am the anti-Mr. Beast. I am the it is boring, it is safe. But when we talk about brand deals and things like that, those are actually all great things to lead to brand deals, because when you're boring and safe, then those are the kind of people that brands love to work with. Okay, so it's not just long form videos that can be evergreen. Shorts on YouTube can actually be evergreen too. One of the videos on that list that we saw before was this short that I did titled Singapore's 4 Official Languages. And I published this one 1,170 days ago, and you notice there was no viral shot at the beginning of this short. But over 1,170 days, this short has reached 339,000 views. How much of the traffic of that comes from YouTube search? 97.6%. That's how people are finding that short. Something that's interesting about YouTube search is when people search on their mobile device, YouTube will prioritize search results that are shorts. So another strategy to think about is making content, if you're making content for search, that are longs and are shorts. That are very long, because people might want to watch them on television if that's how they're searching. That are very short if they might want to watch them on their mobile device. That are maybe 20 minutes if they're watching them on their computer, right? Because people watch them from all different platforms. And so thinking about creating videos out of the content that you make that can serve each one of those viewers. I have a full hour-long Singapore travel guide that talks about this. But it's in there, but it doesn't pick up the search traffic because it's embedded in this. And this is also not one that I clipped out of the video. I feel like this is a strategy that people often say, just make videos and then clip the things out of it. And I've found for me the things that perform best as shorts are the ones that I don't clip out of it, but I just record again, right? So I might stand here and record my long form video about languages in Singapore for a minute that goes in part of my hour travel guide. And then as soon as I'm done with that, then we'll take out the phone and we'll record the 20-second short. So what does success look like on YouTube? And so I think the success on YouTube starts with fun. There's always people, had the question yesterday at the opening ceremonies. Someone, one of the brands that's out there was asking, hey, does it take a long time to get into YouTube, to be successful at it? And generally the answer is yes. And so generally I say, well, if you're not having any fun, then you certainly won't get past that hump to get to success, right? I've had plenty of people tell me things like, I just don't enjoy it anymore. Oh, Chris, do you like making your videos? Because I don't. Well, that's going to be hard. That's going to be hard to go for years and years and years to build up the library that you need to be successful if you never liked making them in the first place. Hopefully I'm preaching to the choir here. We're at a travel conference. I know many of you love what we get to do. Well, I'd say, then that goes to the views, that goes to the comments, and then it goes to the growth phase where people actually start to subscribe. YouTube starts sending you the sweet, sweet plaques. They only send you the first one. Well, if you get 100,000, they only send you the first one for free. I've bought successive ones every 200,000, 300,000. They don't print them at that, but I'm kind of goes on the wall. Fame. The first time people stop you and say, hey, I've loved your videos. You really helped me plan that trip. Tangible rewards. At some point you get special invites, invited to things, whether it's a thing at a restaurant or a specific travel thing or to go on a fam trip. And then those might turn into actually free travel, free stuff, free suitcases to make a review of. But we are at the conference for content creators for business, and so eventually you want to translate that into money. For those of you that weren't here for Dalton's talk, he said it's okay to recognize that you're not a charity. I won't repeat it the exact same way that you did, but that the brands that you're working with, generally many of them have very large budgets, and so it is okay to charge those brands. It's more than just okay. You deliver a lot of value to those brands when you enter into those relationships. So when a brand comes to you and says hey, can you make this video for $50? I see some head shaking. It's okay to just shake your head and say, no, I can't do $50. And my number is actually much higher than that. and be okay with that. And that brand might pass on that $50 because whatever, they decided their first creator budget was $50. And they found that the creators they got for $50 were not very good. And no offense, there might have been some really great creators they got for $50 because you might have been there. But to reach the pro creators that are going to deliver them a lot of value, chances are that has to be more than $50. Okay. So on this arc, how do you get those rewards? And you might say, well, it's by making good videos. To which I would say it's not by making good videos. Okay, Chris, this is a weird talk. It's by creating an audience. So what brands are paying you for, they're not paying you for videos. They're paying you for access to your audience. They're paying you to have a placement in your video to get in front of the audience that likes to consume your content. And so this is where I will also say all audiences are not created equal. And so this is when people ask, Chris, how does YouTube pay you? How does AdSense work? It's very simple to say, well, it works as a revenue share based on ads. The more views you get, the more money that you make. But the type of audience, the geographic place they are, all change the revenue. I have a video that we did on my daughter's channel. It's called The Curious Princess. We do things that are made for kids. If anybody has kids and they've seen any Blippi videos where he goes to indoor playgrounds, we do like Blippi for adults. So for those who haven't seen that, she likes indoor playgrounds, and so I'll go with her. We will shoot like an hour-long video through an indoor playground, and one of those has gotten 1 million views of my 6-year-old daughter going through an indoor playground. That is earned on the order of low hundreds of dollars because made for kids content doesn't monetize well, right? Because the audience are kids. What are you going to place in front of kids? It's not going to do well. But a video that's on Las Vegas that has 1 million views could easily make 50 times that because YouTube ads is an auction-based system, and the advertisers, there's a lot of people who want to get in front of Las Vegas views, the audience that is going to Las Vegas. And so this is where I would say, as you think about crafting your audience, thinking about how are you making videos that craft the audience that you want, particularly if you want to work with brand deals, particularly if you're going to generate from AdSense that's going to generate a decent amount to make the money back on those things and then earn you in the future. Okay, so thinking about creating an audience, I like to think about it in this way, about how people come to a Yellow Productions video. So I like to think about it, I know it's small, so I'll tell you what's in each one of these boxes. So the first one is the viewer has some interest. And yes, I see people taking pictures. Feel free to take pictures of anything that you want. So the viewer has some interest. They have a question in mind, something like, what's the best sushi in Tokyo? And they execute a search. They then look at those things, they have to click on a video. So they'll click on one of mine because they think the title and thumbnail promises a clear solution to their problem. They look at it and it looks like it's going to answer that. They get into that video and it's a high value video and they're like, I want to watch some other things. You know, I'm going to Tokyo and I'm interested in sushi, but he's also got a related video on how to ride the subway in Tokyo. He's also got a video about the best place to stay in Tokyo. I'm also going to Osaka. He's also got a video on Osaka. So at that point, they watch a few, and then they're like, oh, this maybe they find a playlist. They dive through, and then they subscribe. They're like, this is great, because I want to see more. And my ultimate goal is that the viewers bypass generic search. They don't just type in Tokyo anymore. Now they'll type in Yellow Productions Tokyo. Right? They'll say, like, Chris, because I love your travel guide so much, if you have one on this place, I want to find that. And I'll show you some things in autocomplete later, but like if you look at like Yellow Productions and then you do the autocomplete on YouTube, those are some of the significant autocompletes of like Yellow Productions and destinations because people type that in there. Something also interesting about YouTube and search and recommended is because YouTube does have so much search, YouTube uses people's search history as a recommendation engine. So they might not have clicked on my video for the first one, but they watched one. And then it was recommended on the side because they didn't like the one they were watching. They didn't like 3 they were watching until they found the Yellow Productions one. And then they're like, oh, this is the best video on Sydney I've ever seen. I wish I would have got that on the top. Okay, so that Sydney video that we talked about before, I told you 21% of the traffic was search. 45% of the traffic is suggested. So that's not search. That means those are the videos that appear on the right-hand side when you're watching a video on desktop, or it might appear on the bottom if you're watching mobile. It's not the home screen. The home screen is browse. Recommended is once you've clicked into video and you're watching something, all the videos that YouTube suggests against it. And so you can go and see all the different videos that are recommending the Sydney video, and most of these are other people's videos, but that one's not. The Australia travel guide, that was another video that I made while I was in Sydney, because I thought, well, you know, there might be people who search for a Sydney travel guide, but there might be people who search for an Australia travel guide too. So why don't I make that video? And then in that video, that's a gateway to the Sydney video. This is a screenshot of traffic from other videos' end screens. So end screens in YouTube, for those of you who are in the YouTube area, you all know about this, but for those who aren't, I'm sure you've watched YouTube enough to know that that's when people point at the end and go like, if you liked this video, click this one over here, right? And so I'd say, like, for me, one of the unlocks has been in planning out content, thinking about what that end screen is before I've even started recording the video. So that when I record the conclusion, I can say, if you enjoyed watching this video about best sushi in Tokyo, then you might enjoy watching this video about how to ride the subway. Or you might enjoy my video right here about the best fish markets in Tokyo. So all of these videos are other videos I've created on Australia. And then, you know, people click through. So from that Australia travel guide, it gets suggested traffic to the Sydney guide, but it also gets end screen click through to it. At the end of the Sydney video, I pitch my Melbourne series. In Australia, there's two big cities, Sydney and there's Melbourne. And so at the end of the Sydney travel guide, I'm like, well, if you're going to be going to Melbourne, you might enjoy this playlist right over here of all the videos I have on Melbourne. And it's really interesting to see that 9.6% of the people that were shown that end screen clicked on it, which, by the way, I think is a really high number. Like, to get people to like click on a thing in a video, it's actually kind of hard, right? So like, but by this point in time, you know, this is where I like to think of long form and things like that, right? Like by the time people have got, like if they've gotten all the way to the end of the 30-minute video or something like that, you know, they're probably like, oh, like, I like this content, I like this thing, I like this delivery. And so they're like, well, I might not even be going there, but if I'm just here for entertainment, then I might just click into that to watch more entertainment. Okay, so my pro tip is on your trips, on your expeditions, create related content. And think about all those things before you go. Like, what are all those videos that you could make before you go there? This is my recent trip to the big island of Hawaii. And so just to be like, what are those? What is a set of videos that you might make on a week-long trip? The first one is a 1-hour-long vlog of our 7 days on the island. That's one that somebody could kick back and watch on their television. The next one is the Big Island of Hawaii travel guide, everything to know. So that's much more of the how do you get in, how do you get around, where to stay. This one's more informational. This one's more sit down and watch entertainment-wise. But there might be some people that are going to the Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. And so 24 hours in the Hawaii Volcanoes National Park is actually a one-day excerpt out of this Hawaii Big Island travel guide. This is one to think about too, and so to say, you know, if you see the views on this, I mean, they're not amazing, but this video has 64,000 views for the 7 days, but this 24 hours at the Hawaii Volcanoes National Park has 15,000 views. That is 15,000 more views that people would have never found it if all I put up was this one, because they wouldn't think that that answers their question about going there. Where's the best beach hotel, some walking tours of some farmers markets, and some more hotel reviews. Because if you're going someplace, you might want to know where you might want to stay. Okay, so how do you find interesting topics that do well on YouTube? I like to use the YouTube search autocomplete before I go someplace. So if I'm going to Tokyo, I will type in Tokyo travel, and then I will just look at all the things that autocomplete over here. What I think was interesting when I did this one recently was Tokyo travel with a toddler. By the way, this is in incognito browsing, so this is not like bound to me. But so that might be one to be like, oh, like if I had a toddler or an older guy, I might like, in addition to our vlog, or I might make the vlog in that thing to be like, hey, in this video, I'm going to show you about 7 days getting around Tokyo with our toddler. Right? It might just, you might be the same content, but it might be just a different spin at the beginning, right? I like the Google search autocomplete also because it gives a different set of things that people search for. Google Trends is also a good place to look. In Google Trends, you can look and see what is general topics that are trending. So I don't know, when I did the screenshot, like in the area of travel and transportation, TSA was trending, Southwest Airlines was trending, Alaska Air was trending, Turks and Caicos was trending. You can also dive in Google Trends to a specific search term and see interest over time. So this is the Google Trends view for Tokyo. And some of the things that I think is interesting over here, related queries to Tokyo that are increasing. Tokyo Marathon 2027. So there's probably a lot of people that are looking at like, hey, what do I look for Tokyo Marathon 2027? And I might not have even thought about creating content for that until I saw this. YouTube Studio also has this new, it's not that new now, but it's kind of new, this inspiration tab where it can spark ideas for you based on your existing content, what does well in other niches. It generates titles. It generates like ideas for thumbnails that you could take. So if you've never been over to that inspiration tab in Studio, I'd encourage you to take a look at it to just get some of those ideas. I also think it's good to observe what's successful for others. And so one of the areas that I like to go to in my YouTube Studio in the audience tab is to look at channels that my audience watches. So it says they watch Travel Ruby, Jaycation, Norma Gelly, Fresh Baked, and Ordinary Adventures. I don't think JJ from Jaycations is here this year, but if I just bring up his channel right here, and I like to go look at these channels and I like to go sort by most popular. So you go to the channel and you go up to the videos and you click popular and you can see what does well for Jaycation. And what jumps out at you is ripoffs. Can you read ripoffs? Yeah, like Jay's most popular videos are all scams. They're scam videos. So he's got 12 Oahu scams, 15 Philippine scams, 12 Waikiki scams. So you may be like, well, if that works for Jay, then maybe scams might work for me. I'm not encouraging you to remake his same video of 12 Oahu scams, but if you're going to someplace else, you're going to Tokyo, maybe make a Tokyo scams video. So I just want to share 10 kind of other areas that I see doing well across YouTube, and I also want to share with you one that in 2026 I think you should avoid. And these are going to be channels where I've sorted them by most popular, and I'm going to put them in a bucket as to what they do, but this doesn't mean that that's entirely what they do. Like, you know, people do other videos, and I kind of consider myself to be a channel that does a lot of different niches or areas, but as you saw, there was some that kind of like floated to the top for me. So these are the ones that float atop for these other channels. Attache Travel Guides, he does a lot of these kind of like just Shanghai Travel Guide, New York City Travel Guide, Paris Travel Guide. I mean, honestly, these titles and these thumbnails, I feel like break every rule of YouTube title and thumbnail that you ever hear about. They are not highly polished. There's no clickbait in those titles, but they work very, very well. Entertainment, travel entertainment. I feel like could be like in the shock area. So this is Bald and Bankrupt. He's got 4.5 million subscribers. He goes to places that you're probably never going to go to. But you watch it because you're like, this is literally the title of his 12 million view video, Nobody Visits This Country. Find out why. Visiting the world's most dangerous country, Afghanistan, 8.7 million views. You watch this guy and you're like, oh my gosh, how haven't you been arrested? One of his videos that's done very well is telling about the stories where he's been arrested in these countries. Okay. Travel vlogs. So I put this in the edutainment category. So this channel is California Through My Lens. Josh in the back right there. He's the host of California Through My Lens. Josh, raise your hand. Say hi. Josh, yeah, very good. So Josh makes these very long vlogs. You can't see this, but this one, his most viewed video on his channel, Route 66 road trip, 14 days driving the main street of America, 16 million views, 2 hours long, right? People watch that. They watch 30 minutes of it. they come back to watch 30 more minutes, they come back to watch 30 more minutes, right? And like every time somebody does that, that's just more juice for YouTube. To be like, the fact that people come back and watch this thing, right? And obviously, this one where like, you know, Josh's first video that he made was not this one. He's developed that style and things like that over time. But this is one where people can watch whether they're gonna drive Route 66 or not. There's a lot of people who heard about Route 66, so they're just interested to see what that road trip looks like. And then there's other people who are gonna do it too, and they can take some specific things away from Josh to help plan their trip. There's travel documentaries. I might put National Geographic in that area. We got Nat Geo up here in the front in the yellow, so very good. But one I put up here is Ruhi Chenet Documentaries. He does videos like The Coldest Village on Earth, -71 Celsius. This is an interesting one, Nepal's Mad Honey that causes hallucinations, where he goes and talks about the villagers who farm this mad honey and what the effects are. Something I think is really interesting about his channel is these thumbnails that you see here. He will change these thumbnails and these titles on his videos like 20, 30, 40 times. If you use like vidIQ or some of these extensions, you can go in and see like every time someone has changed a thumbnail and every time someone has changed that. We're gonna talk about thumbnail and topic testing in a little bit, but if you're not doing that on YouTube, you absolutely should be. And I'll show you some, like one of my specific examples about why that was really important. Since we're at this TravelCon combined with the Travel Goods Show, travel gear, certainly big area, luggage reviews, electronics. Something I think is interesting about this Pack Hacker channel is they had one channel and they did reviews and they also did travel tips. And then they decided, well, those are two different audiences, and so now they have two different channels. They have one that's the Pack Hacker Reviews channel for all the review content, and then another one for just the tips content. I am not gonna give you a recommendation as to which one is good either way, because I am the anti that. I don't really want to run 82,000 channels, and so I put them all on my own, put them all on Yellow Productions. Where I personally did break it off was when I'm making the Made for Kids content for my daughter that is clearly a different audience. Where I'm like, my audience that's watching my Sydney travel guide is not going to watch the 1 hour Billy B's indoor playground. So I broke that off into a different channel. Reviews, not of gear, but like of the travel industry. So reviews of travel, Dan, Nonstop Dan here, he does like business and first class travel experiences. That's his whole channel. Reviews of food. Mark Wiens, anybody like Mark Wiens around here? Yeah, right? He's, if you never get good, few hands in the room. For those of you who don't know Mark Wiens, he is definitely, I would call him one of the foremost foodies on YouTube. And all his videos are about food. But they're also long videos about food. They're like 29 minutes here about extreme Chinese street food, 26 million views. 28 minutes, the ultimate Dubai food tour, street food, Emirati cuisine in Dubai. As he makes these videos, he could easily make them as 2 or 3 minute videos, but he's found that people kick back and watch them better when they're 30 minutes around. There's also content that's like about travel. So this is content about how to travel better, so travel tips kind of things, where I mentioned like Pack Hacker's channel, they broke off. Portable Professional here, all of her videos are, she just does at home or in her studio. She doesn't go anywhere. And they get a lot of views. They get like this one right here, travel outfits to not wear to the airport, 2.2 million views. New TSA carry-on rules you need to know in 2026, 1.9 million views. She remakes that same video every year. You know, what do you need to know in this year? And people will watch it every single year. Miles and points is a big area. So this is, again, one where you don't have to be traveling. But talking about, you know, is the Chase Sapphire Preferred better or is the Amex Platinum card better? What's the best way to get to Europe on miles and points? Then there's destination-focused content, which is like abroad in Japan. This channel is Chris Broad from the UK. He moved to Japan, and it's all about his life in Japan and travel guides on Japan. So he kind of mixes the two together, but it's sort of both there. And so you can see his most viewed video, 17 million views, 12 things not to do in Japan. Why not to move to Japan. This is an interesting, like I find the not is pretty interesting. And so we'll talk about not for a moment. And I'll bring this back to my 5 worst cheap hotels on the Las Vegas Strip and why people, the audiences that will watch that kind of content. So this, what not to do in Japan, People will watch that who are going to Japan or have interest in Japan, but people will watch that who are also not going to Japan. But they're just curious about it. And so I also like to think about the best kind of content you can make to get the broadest audience is that kind of content. The one where the travel-focused audience will watch it, but the broad audience who's just interested in the place will. I did a travel guide on Guam. It's like the USA's most remote populated island. And a lot of people watch the Guam travel guide because they're just really interested in Guam. Like very few people go to Guam. Like the only flights to Guam from the USA is from Hawaii. Like you can only, it's like closer from Tokyo. It's a 3-hour flight from Tokyo or an 8-hour flight from Hawaii. So not many people are going to watch that travel guide to plan Guam, but people do see Guam and it's interesting. I didn't know about it. Let me watch it. Okay, but there's also so many more choices you could make. Should you be budget? Should you be luxury? Should you be family or solo or couple? Should you be short or long? Should it be hosted or faceless? In the world of AI today, if you were starting a new channel or new content, I would recommend against faceless, just because you're competing against all the other faceless AI content that's out there. Should it be live or should it be recorded? This talk is not really about live streaming, but I do a weekly live stream every week when I'm not traveling. And I would, like my money is on live going in the future as like an area to be like, if you've never gone live, I would encourage you to like go live because AI can't replace live, right? This is another one where people, if they're looking for their human connection, they're looking to connect with their creator. Should it be heavily edited or should it be a single take? Josh's 2-hour-long vlogs, I mean, he edits them, but he's not putting in like Mr. Beast level editing on them because you can't in 2 hours, right? And 2 hours of Mr. Beast level editing might kind of be a turnoff. Should it be rated G to appeal to brands or should it be raw and unfiltered? Do you want to drop the F-bomb every sentence because that's you? Because if that is you, that might not be you for the brands. I've had a lot of brands tell me that, where they were like, Chris, I was looking to work with this creator or this creator, and then I looked at their channel and I was like, ooh, I don't know about that. And they looked at my channel and I'm like, oh, this guy looks pretty wholesome. He's got a 6-year-old daughter that he travels with. Like, hey, he's going to be a good, good face for our brand. And we already talked about one channel, or do you split it up? Okay, so I was going to tell you about what I recommend avoiding in 2026. And I recommend avoiding lists of things to do on YouTube in 2026. And Josh is nodding his head. And of course, the funny thing about Josh nodding his head, and Josh recognizes this thumbnail on the top, is that if you search on YouTube in incognito mode for the best things to do in Salt Lake City, the #1 video that's going to pop up on that list is one that Josh made, 22 things to do in Salt Lake City, 7 years ago, 629,000 views. The next 3 long-form videos that come up are all AI-generated videos. They're AI-generated faceless videos. But the thing about the AI-generated faceless videos, at least with the YouTube algorithm right now, is YouTube does prioritize like recent content. And so AI can churn out lots of recent content. It's always recent. It's a slightly different tweak of the same video, but it's always recent. And so if you're trying to compete with that, you hang a video up there, and yours is going to be there for a few years, and then all of these other ones are generated by AI. You can see the fact that there's not a second one hosted by a person, right? And that's not to say that people haven't created it, but these are ranking higher in the search because they just post them. They can post them every week, and one of them gets traction. Okay, so this might be where people talk about the YouTube algorithm. I'm not going to talk about the YouTube algorithm. I'm going to talk about creating videos that people watch. Actually, I'm going to talk about creating videos that people click on, because people have to click on them before they watch them. So it starts with a good title and a thumbnail. I'm going to tell you about, this is a recent video I did on visiting Universal Studio Hollywood with kids, our full day. I made a couple different thumbnails for this video. I made the one that you saw, and I also made this other one down here. I A/B tested them. YouTube said that 63% of the watch time was generated by this thumbnail, and 36% of the watch time was generated by this thumbnail. So just by putting those two in the A/B test, and YouTube picking that one, this video is going to go on to do much better in the long run, because this one's going to generate a lot more watch time. So if you're not doing that, I will, like it takes some time, but honestly, this was a thumbnail I took in the park. That's just, and I put some words on it. And this one, back here, this is one I created. Like, this scene doesn't exist. This scene of the Universal Studios gate with this fountain in the background, like this fountain is actually like over here, like in the picture, it'd be behind the camera person. I tend to do this a lot on thumbnails where I will create the most iconic images of a place and stick them together. And it's not clickbait, but it's, it's like, oh, that looks like that place, right? Okay, I'm gonna go through this rapid fire because we got 5 minutes left before we land the plane here. So how do you get to a good thumbnail? You have to have a good idea or a concept. The idea needs to be on a topic that has some interest, either something that's evergreen that we've talked about or something that's trending. It needs to be something that's not too competitive. If you're competing against Mr. Beast, he's got more people that are in his recommendation and watch algorithm. Your video is just not gonna pop against those videos. You are uniquely qualified or situated to cover it. If you're making a video about traveling with toddlers to Japan, it helps if you that there's toddlers in your life someplace, right? It can also be something that's already been covered, but you can do it better, or you can do it differently. Something that's new that hasn't been covered before, something that's inherently visual, otherwise it could be a blog post, something that's useful to the viewer, something that causes curiosity in the viewer, or something your audience suggested. Because if people who watch your video say, hey, have you thought about making a video like this? There might be a pony in there, because they might see something you don't. And it's always kind of cool if you do make that video to shout out and say, somebody requested this. Like, I love when my audience requests things, and then I can do that. And then the people leave it in the comments to be like, oh, thank you so much for making that video. Okay, so how do we create videos that people watch? How do we create videos that people return to? Not just watch. We want them to watch it, we want them to come back again, we want them to come back to all of your videos again. Build credibility, play the long game. Deliver immediate utility. Like the 2-minute coffee making montage at the beginning of the video, it's so out, right? People are out of the video already. So if you can just get to the content right away, promise, don't shock. Not everybody has to do backflips off waterfalls. If you do backflips off waterfalls, that's okay. But if you do, tell them where their waterfall is so they could do it, and tell them where they could go park, and tell them how deep it is so they know where to jump so they don't break their neck. Okay. And be honest, because honesty is something that, particularly if we're talking about doing things with brands or brand deals and recommendations and you recommending things, they want to know your opinion and they want you to be honest about it. And that first brand deal that comes around, if they want you to read something, or the 10th brand deal comes around, the money's really good and you don't believe in it, don't do it. Because the first time you do one of those, all that credibility you built up over the last 1, 2, 5, 10 years will just go down the drain with that one bad crypto deal that you made. Okay. So just a few pictures to end it here. Some things I've learned over since 2008 making videos is it helps to plan it out, to have an outline. It doesn't have to be a detailed outline, and even it's a vlog, an outline of what are the base things that you're gonna do, what are the base things that you're gonna say. When I would just go shoot stuff and come home and try to edit it, I'd be like, oh my gosh, this has so many holes, I don't know what to say, why didn't I get that? I should have got that. I can't go back to London and get that thing. But if I knew I was talking about Big Ben because I outlined it, then I would make sure I got a shot of Big Ben. I don't think people need fancy gear. I don't think fancy gear is all that important. For fancy gear, I use a DJI Osmo Pocket that's up there in the front, gimbal camera at the front, some wireless mics. This one's not mine. This one's for the audio for the main recording. But if people can't hear you, if people can't understand you, they won't watch your video, right? I think people often underestimate the importance of audio quality. Not a big deal on shorts, right? Because you can put subtitles and things like that. But a super big deal on YouTube long form. I used this dad cam for 15 years on the channel. It was not the world's most expensive camera, but it worked well. The thing that I liked about this, and it's an old one, so I don't use it anymore, but it had a built-in wireless mic with the least number of connections. This is also, I'm big on keeping it simple. The more wires that you have, the more plugs that you have, the more batteries that you have, the more things won't work when you need to turn on and do that shoot. The pro vloggers use this stuff. I have all this stuff. When I use this stuff? Okay, I heard never, which is one answer. On my own, never. When I want to impress a brand. When I want to impress a brand. If I'm going someplace, I've been invited someplace maybe, and this and that, and I want to be the YouTuber or I'm going to like a press event where I'm going to be there with like big cameras, I'll bring this gear. Because if I bring that and it's just in my bag, they're like, where are your cameras? Okay, that's when I bring this stuff. But I don't need it to make the videos, right? Okay. I think it's important to constantly experiment and make new types of content because I feel there's a lot of people who they circle the wagon on something and then the views go down because audiences changes, things change. Like keep making new things and try it a few times before you throw in the towel. One experiment I like to talk about is this one right here, which is I started with this one 2 years ago. I made a walking tour of Tokyo Central. It's a Japanese supermarket in Los Angeles. I took my Osmo around for 11 minutes in the supermarket and got 96,000 views. And so then when Tokyo Central was opening a new supermarket in Irvine, I went there on opening day and I recorded a 24-minute video that has 165,000 views of walking around a Japanese supermarket. Are there really 165,000 people that are going to watch that video of a Japanese supermarket? And the answer is there are. And the other thing is that AI can't make that video, right? They can't find an AI example of this video. And this video too, I did on opening day. And so it was new. It was topical. And so I also think that that's super important. Like if in like Josh's thing, like Route 66, there's no timeliness on that. But if you're going to San Diego Comic-Con and you're putting out a video on San Diego Comic-Con, if you can be the first person to put that video out on San Diego Comic-Con, it will already generate a bunch of views and a bunch of watch time before the second person's does. And so now when people are looking in search to see what is the better video, well gosh, the one that already has 20,000 views must be, because more people have watched it. Because it had a 6-hour head start. Right? How do you build a community? Respond to them, use posts, seek feedback, live streams, make some branded merch. By the way, I have a bunch of stickers and pins that are up here, so if you'd like a Yellow Production sticker or a pin, come up here. The reason why I made these, and I always carry these stickers with me, the moment somebody comes up to me in real life and says, I love your channel, I want to give them something. I want to make that moment memorable. I want to say, thank you so much. And you're now part of the Yellow Productions crew. Henry, over here, I met him at TravelCon last year. I gave him that sticker last year. I have a new sticker this year. But Henry says, Chris, I still have your sticker that you gave me last year, right? People put it on their water bottles, and I love it. Okay, my final words of encouragement, anybody who's thinking about creating videos but hasn't, just do it, just start. Or on YouTube, if you're on another platform. You know, your first videos won't be great, but that's okay. In the world of online videos, viewers don't expect perfect, and the great thing about when you don't have any viewers or subs is nobody's watching those first ones that are bad anyway. So that's how I create content to help people travel better, smarter, and cheaper. That concludes my presentation. Thank you all very much. And please come and get a sticker or a pin, because otherwise I have to take them all home. So they're all for you. Thank you all.